survey, the public is equally concerned about Biden's and Trump's sensitive materials. As the 2024 election cycle gets underway, a new NBC News poll also reveals difficulties for Biden and House Republicans. Despite obvious contrasts in the two men's responses to these discoveries, 67% of Americans believe they are equally concerned about the classified materials discovered at President Joe Biden's home and former office as they are about those discovered at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property. In addition, even after a string of recent political and legislative triumphs, 50% of Americans disapprove of the job President Biden is doing and give him low scores for bringing the nation together as well as for having the required mental and physical health to be president. And most people think the newly Republican-controlled House of Representatives will be very rigid in how it handles Biden and spend too much time looking into the president rather than concentrating on other issues. The main results of a nationwide NBC Reports poll conducted before the start of the 118th Congress, ahead of Biden's forthcoming State of the Union speech, and following news of sensitive documents discovered at Biden's and Trump's private houses, are summarized here. The survey also highlights how little has changed since the midterm elections in November and how unsatisfied the general public still is as the 2024 presidential race gets underway. The survey was conducted by Republican pollster Bill McIntyre of Public Opinion Strategies and Democratic pollster Jeff Horwath of Hart Research Associates. The calendar may read 2023, but you'd excuse someone if they continue to see 2022 in the country's outlook and in our politics, Horwath said. According to McIntyre, elections are intended to act as a chance to refresh and reset, and that did not happen. Despite the fact that the current president and the former president handled their situations differently, the poll reveals that the American public is equally concerned by the discovery of sensitive materials at Biden's and Trump's houses. Biden and his attorneys have argued that they immediately turned over these classified documents, which date from his time serving as Barack Obama's vice president, and that they cooperated with investigators, in contrast to Trump, who allegedly failed to turn over all of the requested documents and allegedly retaliated against them. 67% of Americans feel it is worrying that secret records were discovered at Biden's previous workplace and residence, with 33% saying it is very worrying and 18% saying it is neither too worrying nor worrying at all. The same 67% of respondents express alarm at the discovery of classified information at Trump's home, with 36% describing their level of anxiety as extremely, and 20% expressing no concern at all. Surprisingly, while most Republicans, 53%, are worried about Trump's, most Democrats, 52%, are worried about Biden's confidential materials. According to the Republican pollster McIntyre, neither president gets a pass from their partisans. The NBC News poll was conducted from January 20 to 24, largely prior to the news on January 24 that a small number of classified documents had been discovered at the residence of former Vice President Mike Pence. A few sensitive documents were discovered at the house of former Vice President Mike Pence, according to news reports from January 24. The public's negative attitude and Biden's standing haven't changed much. The NBC News poll reveals that, despite a string of legislative victories, encouraging economic news, and a better-than-expected midterm election, President Biden's popularity among the public has remained mostly constant since November. His entire job performance is rated by respondents as 45% approve and 50% disapprove. 46% of registered voters approve, 50% disapprove, which is exactly the same as it was just before the midterm elections in November last year. 44% approve, 53% dislike. Furthermore, only 36% of adults overall and 41% of registered voters in September 2022 approve of how the president is handling the economy and foreign policy, respectively, down from 40% and 42%, respectively, in September 2022. The poll's questions about Biden's presidential qualities may be the most concerning. He receives the greatest grades for being approachable and likable, 45% of all adults rate him favorably in this area, and for having the knowledge and experience necessary to handle the presidency, 42% rate him favorably. The areas where he performs the least well are being trustworthy and honest, 34%, being able to handle a crisis, 32%, being competent and effective as president, 31%, having the required physical and mental health to be president, 28%, and bringing the nation together, 23%. According to the study, many of these ratings have dramatically decreased when Biden first became office. According to Democratic polls to Howard, since January 2021, Biden has lost 17 points on bringing the nation together, 15 points on his capacity to handle a crisis, 13 points on being smart and experienced enough to handle the president, and 9 points on being honest and trustworthy. The study also reveals the public's persistent pessimism. 64% of respondents say their family's income is slipping behind the cost of living, which is a continuation of the 63% response from September 2022, and 71% believe the country is moving in the wrong way. No honeymoon for the newly Republican-controlled House. Regarding the newly Republican-controlled House, the NBC News poll found that 54% of adults believe congressional Republicans will be overly rigid in their dealings with President Biden, as opposed to 28% who believe they will strike the right balance and another 10% who believe they will cave in too quickly. Comparatively, 45% of respondents overall believe Biden will be too rigid with Republicans, 35% believe he will strike the appropriate balance, and 11% think he will cave in too early. A combined 63% of Americans have little to no confidence that Congress will conduct an unbiased and fair inquiry into Biden and his administration, while 55% of Americans believe House Republicans will spend too much time investigating Biden and not enough time on other matters. Only 27% of respondents think well of Congress's Republicans, compared to 36% who think favorably of Congress's Democrats and 39% of respondents who think favorably of Biden. And when asked who they would prefer leading the nation's policymaking, 48% of Americans choose Biden, compared to 45% who favor congressional Republicans. What Congress should take into account versus what it shouldn't. Finally, the NBC News survey examined 7 potential policy options for the upcoming Congress. The 3 suggestions that receive the most support from voters are: giving undocumented immigrants who meet certain criteria a pathway to citizenship. 80% say Congress should act on this. Adopting a tougher stance against China. 75% say Congress should act, and addressing immigration by enhancing border security. 72%. The least popular options include increasing limits on abortion, 26% support, and cutting the defense budget, 31% support. Americans are divided on whether Congress should provide Ukraine additional money and weaponry. 49% think it should, while 47% think it shouldn't. The NBC News survey, which was conducted from January 20 to 24, included 1,000 respondents, 823 of whom were reached by cell phone. Its overall margin of error is /3.1 percentage points. The survey's plus-minus 3.4 percentage point margin of error included 810 registered voters.